It was a quiet and sunny Sunday afternoon at Pinebrook Park. The warm sunshine came through the tall green trees. Children were laughing and playing in the distance. Little birds were singing soft songs up in the branches above. Everything felt happy and calm. On a wooden bench by the lake, a man named Steven Seagal was sitting very still. He wore black clothes. His hair was tied back in a neat ponytail, and he had dark sunglasses over his eyes. He looked a little like a peaceful monk or a quiet superhero taking a break. He wasn't there to fight. He wasn't there to train. He just wanted to sit quietly and enjoy the lovely day, watching the people and listening to the birds. But not everyone liked peace. Suddenly, from a path nearby, a big police car came driving up. It didn't park in the right spot. It stopped right on the grass. The car door swung open, and a police officer got out. His name was Officer Dane Vexler. He was tall, very strong, and thought he was better than everyone else. He liked to show off and scare people. He didn't like it when people didn't listen to him. Some people said he was mean and didn't always do the right thing. When Officer Vexler saw Steven sitting quietly with no phone, no music, and no car nearby, he got suspicious. He didn't like how calm Steven looked. Vexler thought to himself, "This guy thinks he's tough. Let's see about that." He walked toward Steven, holding a shiny silver baseball bat in his hand. It wasn't a toy bat. It was a real metal one, the kind police sometimes use to scare people. "Hey!" Officer Vexler shouted loudly. Steven didn't move. He didn't look scared. He just kept sitting still. Officer Vexler got angry. "You deaf or dumb?" he said meanly. "I said HEY." Slowly, Steven turned his head. His voice was calm and soft like still water. He asked, "Is there a reason you're shouting in a quiet park, officer?" Vexler frowned. "Are you just sitting here for fun, tough guy? You know loitering is against the law." Steven raised one eyebrow. "Loitering? I'm just sitting on a bench." Vexler said, "Yeah, and I said get OFF." Steven didn't move at all. Vexler tried to tease him. "Let me guess, you're one of those karate guys who think they're better than the law?" "I'm a citizen," Steven replied. "And this is a public park. That's all you need to know." Officer Vexler was getting more and more angry. Steven was too calm, too quiet, and it made Vexler feel nervous. He shouted, "I gave you a direct order," and raised the bat. Steven looked up at him, his voice still steady. "If you hit me with that, I promise you'll regret it." "Oh yeah." Vexler laughed. "We'll see." Then, crack. The bat hit Steven on the back. The sound was loud and echoed around the whole lake. A mom nearby gasped. A Theo stopped running. The birds flew up into the sky. It was scary. Steven's body moved forward a little bit, but he didn't cry or scream. He didn't fall down. He just leaned forward, put his hands on his knees, and took a breath. Then he stood up slowly. Officer Vexler stepped back. Steven wasn't hurt. He wasn't scared. He was ready. "I warned you," Steven said, not shouting, just calmly, like a grown-up lion. Nearby, some kids sitting at a picnic table saw everything and whispered, "Whoa, is that Steven Seagal? He just got hit with a bat. This is gonna go viral." Steven took one step toward Vexler, and suddenly, the police officer felt like the ground under him wasn't safe. For the first time, Vexler felt something new. Fear. He held the bat tighter and tried to swing it again. But Steven moved so fast, like a blur. He hit the bat out of Vexler's hand with one quick swipe. It flew away and landed on the ground with a clatter. Vexler got angry and tried to punch Steven. But Steven caught his fist in mid-air. Just like that. Then, with a small twist and a move of his body, Steven turned the officer's arm into a twisty lock. Vexler dropped to one knee and groaned in pain. "You don't get to hide behind that badge when you're the one breaking the rules," Steven said in a firm voice. "That's dangerous." Vexler growled, "You think you can do this to a cop?" Steven replied, "You stopped being a cop the moment you hit someone from behind." Then, Steven let go. Officer Vexler fell to the ground, breathing hard, looking shocked and embarrassed. Now a crowd had gathered. People were holding up their phones. They had seen the whole thing. Steven turned back to the bench, picked up his water bottle, and took a sip like nothing had happened. Vexler got up, his face red and sweaty. He grabbed his radio and yelled, "I need backup at Pine Brook." Officer attacked. "It's Steven Seagal." The radio was quiet for a moment. Then a voice said, "Confirm. Did you say Steven Seagal?" "Yes." Vexler shouted, "Send help now." 5 minutes later, 3 police cars showed up. Lights flashing, but no sirens. 2 Wraiths and several officers got out. They all looked around carefully. Then they saw Steven standing in the middle of the park, arms crossed, face calm. One of the Wraiths cleared his throat. "Mr. Seagal, we got a report." Steven pointed to the bench. "I was sitting there. He came up to me. He shouted. Then he hit me with a bat." Steven pointed to the crowd. Everyone saw it. "They have videos." People lifted their phones. Videos played on screens. You could clearly see what had happened. Lieutenant Rafe Darren looked at Vexler. "Is that true, Dane?" Officer Vexler looked around, his face full of panic. "He didn't respect me. He didn't follow my orders. I was just." "You hit a man sitting on a bench," the Rafe said. "You assaulted a peaceful person." Vexler tried to talk again. "No, he tricked me." "Enough," the Rafe said. "You're suspended. Give me your badge. And your gun. Now." "What?" "No. He started it." "Now, Dane." Slowly, Vexler took off his badge. Then his gun. His hands were shaking. His face was pale. Steven didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Vexler looked like he didn't understand what had just happened. A few minutes ago, he thought he was in charge. Now, everyone saw the truth. Everyone had proof. Around him, many phones kept recording, capturing every second. Steven Seagal stood still, calm like a quiet mountain. He didn't yell. He didn't brag. He just stood there with his arms folded, peaceful again. Lieutenant Rafe Darren turned to his officers. "Take Vexler to Internal Affairs. Use my car. I want a full report. Body camera footage too. And we'll need statements from everyone who saw this." 2 police officers walked over to Vexler and gently took him by the arms. They walked him toward the car. As Vexler passed Steven, their eyes met again. "You'll pay for this," Vexler hissed under his breath. Steven leaned in just a tiny bit and said quietly, "No, Dane, you already did." About 1 hour later, Steven was sitting at a small wooden picnic table near the park's ranger station. A kind Tomas had brought him a warm cup of tea, just to say thank you. Steven sat up straight. His face was calm again. His back didn't hurt anymore. The sun still shined gently through the trees. The birds were singing again. The kids were laughing. The park was peaceful once more. And Steven Seagal, the quiet man who stood up for what was right, just sipped his tea and watched the world go by. Mira was a young police officer learning how to do her job. She had come late to the scene and looked a little nervous. "Sir," she said quietly, "I saw the video. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. What Vexler did was very wrong." Seagal looked at her. His voice was calm. "He didn't just hit me," Seagal said. "He hit the police uniform. He hit every good officer who does the right thing. That's why it's important." Mira nodded her head. "People at the station are talking a lot. Vexler has hurt people before. He was mean, used too much force, scared people. But he always found a way to get out of trouble." "Not this time," Seagal said. "No, sir," Mira replied. "Not this time." At the police station, Officer Vexler was sitting in a small cold room with glass walls. Across from him sat a person from Internal Affairs, the people who check if police officers are doing the right thing. "What were you thinking?" the officer asked. Vexler was holding ice on his ribs because he had been hurt. He looked angry. "He made me mad," Vexler said. "He acted like he was the boss." The officer raised his eyebrows. "Because he was sitting on a bench?" he asked. "You don't get it," Vexler said. "He looked at me like he was better than me. Too calm." "Oh, so he didn't say yes sir fast enough?" the officer asked. "No. He stared at me like he knew I wasn't in control." The officer clicked a remote. A video started playing on the screen. It showed what happened in the park. Wexler swinging his bat. Seagal standing up. Wexler falling down. The officer paused the video and looked at Wexler. "This isn't about your feelings, Dane," he said. "This is proof. And you're done." Back in the park, reporters started showing up. Big cameras, microphones, and news vans were everywhere. They all wanted Seagal to talk to them. But Seagal said no. "I don't need a press conference," he said. "Let the truth speak for itself." Still, the video went everywhere. People shared it online. Every angle, every second was caught on camera. Everyone could see what Wexler did and how Seagal stayed calm. People on the internet were talking non-stop. Cop tries to scare man with bat, big mistake. Steven Seagal stays cool and teaches a lesson in just 3 moves. Power meets justice in Pinebrook Park. Many people said Seagal had amazing control. Others said he was strong and smart. But Seagal didn't read any of the comments. He wasn't looking for fans. He wanted to teach a lesson. The next day, Wexler was told he was suspended with no pay. An official investigation started. The people from Internal Affairs looked at his past. They found a lot. Old complaints from people. Videos from body cameras. Other officers talking about him. All the pieces came together. Wexler had been mean and hurtful for a long time. Seagal's video helped open the door to the truth. Later, Lieutenant Rafe Darren met Seagal at the police station. "I want to thank you," Darren said. "You didn't just stay calm. You helped us see a big problem we didn't fix for years." "I didn't do it for you," Seagal replied. "I did it for everyone Wexler hurt before he came after me." Darren looked sad and nodded. "There were a lot of people," he said. "People were too scared to talk." "They're not scared anymore," Seagal said. That evening, Seagal went back to the park. He sat on the same bench. Not to fight. Just to think. The air was quiet. Birds were singing again. The wind was soft. Mira came back, this time not in her police uniform. "Can I sit with you?" she asked. Seagal nodded. She sat next to him. "Do you think Wexler will learn anything from this?" she asked. Seagal looked out at the water. The sun was setting, and the light danced on the lake. "Some people only learn when they lose everything," Seagal said. Mira looked at him. "And if he doesn't?" she asked. "Then life will teach him a harder lesson," Seagal said, "or it will break him." They sat quietly. Mira leaned back. "I hope I never become the kind of cop he was." "You already aren't," Seagal said. Mira smiled a little. "Thanks to you." But that night, Wexler was alone in his apartment. He sat with his bruises and his thoughts. He had no badge anymore. His locker at work was empty. People online were saying bad things about him. He looked at the TV. It showed the video again. He watched himself swing the bat. He watched Seagal stop him easily. He looked small, weak, foolish. And Seagal's? The Seagal looked like justice. Wexler picked up the same bat from that day. He had kept it. But this time, he didn't swing it. He just stared at it. Because now, he was the one who felt scared. 3 weeks went by since the big day at Pinebrook Park. People still remembered the video, even if they didn't talk about it as much. But the truth had already spread. Dane Wexler's name now meant bad cop to most people. He used to be feared. Now, people looked at him with cold eyes when he walked down the street. Internal Affairs found even more. So many old complaints. Body camera videos. Reports from people he was scared of. Even old lawsuits that had been hidden before. This time, there was no hiding. No second chances. Wexler wasn't suspended anymore. He was fired. And even though his badge was gone, the pain and shame stayed with him. One Thursday morning, Wexler saw reporters outside his apartment again. Holding cameras. Talking into microphones. He made a choice. He would go to the park. He would see Seagal. Not as a cop. As a man. Maybe to talk. Maybe to fight. He picked up the same aluminum bat. The one that had ruined his job. He put it in a duffel bag. He wore a dark hoodie. He hid a small knife in his belt. He didn't care about the rules anymore. He only cared about what he thought was justice. That afternoon, Seagal was back at Pinebrook Park. Same bench. Same place. Same peaceful feeling. He sat quietly, like a rock in the middle of a quiet pond. He listened to the birds, the soft breeze, the sound of leaves. Then he heard footsteps. Heavy ones. Fast. Angry. He didn't turn around. He just spoke. Back so soon. Wexler walked in front of the bench. His hood was over his face. His eyes were full of anger and shame. Continued in the same style, to ensure length is met. Wexler stood in front of Seagal, breathing hard. You ruined everything, Wexler said. Seagal looked up at him, calm. I didn't ruin anything. You did, he said. You made me look weak. Wexler shouted. You looked that way because you were wrong, Seagal replied. The truth made you look that way. Wexler's hands were shaking. He pulled the bat out of his bag. Seagal didn't move. You want to try again? Seagal asked softly. Wexler stared at him. But something was different now. He wasn't sure. He wasn't strong. He wasn't in control. He was scared. Not of Seagal's strength, but of his calm. His quiet power. I just wanted to be respected, Wexler whispered. Respect is earned, Seagal said. You tried to take it by force. That's not how it works. Wexler dropped the bat. It hit the grass with a soft thump. He sat down, shaking. For a while, neither man said anything. The wind blew gently through the trees. Children laughed in the distance. Life kept moving. I have nothing now, Wexler finally said. Then maybe, Seagal said, it's time to start again. Wexler looked up, eyes red. Do you think I can? That's not my choice, Seagal said. That's yours. Wexler nodded slowly. He picked up the bat, not to fight, but to throw it away. He walked off, leaving it behind. The seagull sat still. The sun lowered behind the trees. Peace returned to the park. Justice had been done. And a new story was beginning. You ruined everything, he said. You ruined everything. Wexler shouted angrily. No, Seagal said softly. You did that yourself. You made me lose my job, my friends, my good name. Wexler yelled. You lost all of that when you hit me first, Seagal said, calm as ever. Wexler reached into his bag and pulled out a big stick, a baseball bat. He pointed it at Seagal. This time, I'm ending it, he growled. Seagal didn't move right away. He stood up slowly. He was big and strong, like a quiet mountain. His face stayed calm. You really want to do this? He asked gently. Wexler's hands were shaking. You're just an old actor who used to pretend to fight. You're nothing now. Wexler said. Seagal didn't say anything. He moved. Fast. Faster than Wexler ever remembered. Wexler swung the bat hard, trying to hit Seagal. But Seagal stepped close, so close the bat couldn't hit him, and chopped down on Wexler's wrist with his hand. The bat fell to the ground. Before Wexler could make a sound, Seagal grabbed his hoodie and slammed him back into a tree. Wham! Wexler couldn't breathe. The wind got knocked out of him. Then Seagal spoke, slow and strong, like thunder. You came here to finish something, he said. Okay. Here's how it ends. Seagal hit Wexler in the ribs with his knee. Thud. Wexler gasped. Then Seagal grabbed Wexler again and threw him over his hip. Wham! Wexler landed in the dirt, coughing and surprised. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a knife. Bad idea. Seagal stepped down on Wexler's hand. Crack. The knife flew out of Wexler's hand and landed on the grass. Wexler screamed. He rolled on the ground in pain. Seagal crouched next to him, breathing calmly. Now listen very carefully, he said. Wexler whimpered. You broke my arm? Seagal shook his head. No, he said. I broke your pride. He leaned closer and whispered, but his voice was strong and sharp like a sword. You thought wearing a badge made you a big, strong man. You thought being mean made you powerful. But power without kindness is just weakness wearing a mask. Wexler lay there in the dirt, coughing. His eyes were full of tears. The seagull stood up. "You wanted to learn something today, Dane? Well, here it is." Then Seagull turned and walked away. He didn't look back. Vexler didn't try to follow. He couldn't. He was too scared. 15 minutes later, the paramedics came. Vexler had a broken wrist, a hurt rib, and a little bump on his head. But the worst pain wasn't his body. It was the fear in his eyes. He kept whispering the same thing to the people helping him. He didn't even try. "I did. I did." That evening, Seagull gave a special class to new police officers. Young men and women sat quietly in the room, listening. The Seagull stood at the front with a piece of chalk. He wrote 2 big words on the board: strength and control. He turned to face the group. "Strength without control is just chaos," he said. "Control without strength is just fear. But strength and control together? That's what justice is." A girl named Mira raised her hand. "Sir, what if someone does something bad again, like Vexler?" Seagull nodded. "Then you stop them. But only as much as you need to. Never let the fire inside you grow too big. Be the one who puts out the fire, not the one who feeds it." The class nodded. Another student raised his hand. "Did you break that man's arm on purpose?" Seagull smiled a little. "I broke what needed to be broken," he said. The next morning, Vexler packed his bags. He looked around his empty apartment. He was leaving town. Too many people knew who he was. Too many people were angry. Even his old police friends didn't answer his calls anymore. He stopped and looked in the mirror. There was a little scar on his jaw from hitting the tree. He touched it gently. And finally, he told the truth to himself. "The seagull didn't just beat me," he whispered. "He showed everyone who I really was." Back in Pinebrook Park, the townspeople gathered near the lake. There was a special ceremony happening. A small stage stood near the water, and many people were there to watch. The Alina stepped up to the microphone. "We are here today to rename this peaceful spot," she said. "This place will now be called Seagull's Stand." The crowd clapped softly. "Not because of a fight," the Alina said, "but because one man reminded us that justice is about protection, not punishment. It's about helping people, not hurting them." Mira walked up to the stage and pulled the cloth off a little statue. It was a bronze plaque. The words on it said, "In honor of those who protect with strength, lead with control, and teach by example. Dedicated to Steven Seagal." The crowd clapped louder now. The seagull stood in the back, watching quietly. He didn't need to be on the stage. He didn't need to say anything. His message was already heard. His lesson had already been learned. From that day on, every new officer at the academy visited Seagull's Stand at the end of their training. They stood by the lake, looking at the plaque. They remembered the story. Not about the fight, but about what it meant to be strong and kind. Mira became one of the best officers in the city. She always kept Seagull's words in her heart. Never let the fire consume you. Be the extinguisher. One day, a young kid asked her, "Is the man in the statue a superhero?" Mira smiled. "No," she said. "He's something better. He's a teacher, a protector." And that's how the story of Steven Seagal lived on. Not because he fought, but because he taught everyone how to fight for the right things, in the right way. Did you enjoy the story? I'd love to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you had fun, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss the next adventure. Thanks for being here, and as always, stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring.